Okay, everyone, that clickety clack sound means it's time for TV Oblivion, the podcast. I'm your host, Pete Costanas. This is episode 24, season one. Today's date is November 26, 2022. And thank you for joining me today. And here is today's lineup for this show. From the 1940s, I will talk about the anthology drama series Fireside Theater. From the 1950s, the syndicated series Biff, Baker, USA. From the 1960s, the TV sitcom Fair Exchange. From the 1970s, the cartoon series The ABC Saturday Superstar Movie. From the 1980s, this television sitcom Baker's Dozen. From the 1990s, the crime drama Angel Street. And last from the 2000s is the television sitcom Battery Park. This will be an interesting show. And these shows are rarely syndicated and largely forgotten. And but you can catch them on YouTube if you like. You can find a few episodes or a few promos or a few uh, introductions of the show. Your chances are very great. So that's a lot of fun to do that. Okay. Right now, the program will go into a commercial break. And this program is brought to you by Rapples. And that is the caramel wrapping on your apples. So you make caramel apples. And here's a commercial from 1977. I remember this product very well. I used to eat this when I was a kid. Okay, so sit back and enjoy, everyone. And I'll be right back with the program. Thank you.
Presenting Rapples.
Take an apple and a rapple. Wrap the rapple round the apple and a stick. Heat it quick, that's how you make caramel apples with Rapples from Kraft.
Rapples. Neat sheets of good Kraft caramel. You just wrap around apples and heat for 5 minutes for fresh, homemade caramel apples.
With Rapples from Kraft.
Thanks, Mom.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Rapples. Let me give you a brief history about this product. It was made from Kraft Foods in the mid-70s, 74, 75, something like that. What it is, it's like sheets of, rounded caramel, like that. And you put them in the refrigerator or I don't know. I don't remember. My mom used to make these, and then she would take some apples. There were three of us, and you would take like a popsicle stick, stick it in the core, like in the middle of the apple, and then you take one of those caramels and then wrap it around, and then you bake it in the oven, and then they get all melty, and you make sure you do it on the bottom like that. Yeah. And they were delicious. You know what I did? This is a silly thing I did as a kid. Just take the wrapping and and eat the caramel first, and then just eat the apple. I don't know why I did that. That's silly. If you eat it together, it is delicious. It's good. I love caramel apples. Like Affy Taffy. If you're in the Chicagoland area, remember that with the peanuts. Oh, that's good. I love that. And in the East Coast, they have candy apples, and I never had a candy apple, but they had that, and they're just like bad for your teeth or the gain. They put on pounds like that. But I never had a candy apple. The product's still made, but it's not made by Kraft anymore. I believe the company is called now Concord Foods. It's a long story. So they make those. If you can find them in the grocery section, if you find them in the grocery store or maybe Walmart, Target, you might find them, or in your local grocery store, but I haven't had it since I was a kid. I don't intend to eat one now. Gonna watch my weight. Okay. At the beginning of the program, I did the lineup for today's episode of TV Living in the podcast, and now I'm going to get started. And the first show I will talk about is the Fireside Theater. And that is an anthology drama series. And this premiered on April 5th, 1949. and it ended May 27, 1958. It aired on NBC, and it ran for 7 seasons, 268 episodes, and it was just like the other anthology drama series from the past, like for example, Playhouse 90, U.S. Steel Hour, Robert Montgomery Presents. Those. What's the other one? I can't think of the top of my head. Yeah, there were so many. They were wonderful shows. Some were live, some were not. I believe this was filmed, the show, and it was a low budget. And Rod Serling did write a couple episodes during the program's airing, like that. And there were 3 hosts. One was Frank Wisbar. I think he was the creator of the show also. And he hosted a show just for 1 year, from 1952 to 1953. I don't know if there was a host before. I don't think so. And then later on, actor Gene Raymond took over. He hosted it for 2 years, from 1953 to 1958. And then Jane Wyman, took over from 55 to 58, And she was more famous for that, for being the hostess of the show. And when Falcon Crest premiered in 1981, I remember that when they interviewed her for the show, they mentioned that you hosted the Fireside Theater, and it was called Jane Wyman Presents. And that aired on ABC later on in the reruns. And then sometimes it was known as the Jane Wyman Show. So she was associated mostly of that show. And she talked about it. She enjoyed it. She really did. One of the most famous episodes of the series was A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And Ralph Richardson, the English actor, he excuse me, he portrayed Ebenezer Scrooge, and it was the only time for American television at the time. So I think it's on YouTube. I haven't checked yet. I'd like to see that. It'd be interesting. Okay, so right now I'm going to play the introduction of Fireside Theater that Jane Wyman hosted, and she sounds just like Angela Channing. Only nicer. I love her character. I love the show. I really did. And so sit back and enjoy for Fireside Theater, hosted by Jane Wyman. And when I come back, I'll talk a little bit about her. Okay? Excuse me. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Jane Wyman. Presented tonight by Ivory Soap. Advised by more doctors for baby's skin and yours. 99 and 44/100% pure. It floats. And now, Jane Wyman.
Good evening. Thank you for being with us again. They say, who are they that always say, but they always say that it's a pretty good idea to keep an eye on the future. Well, I agree with them, especially the future of our children. Now, I'm not one to make predictions, but I'm going to make an exception to that rule. I predict that you're going to just love our little Ivory girl. Now, you wait and see.
Okay, everybody, I'm back. I hope you enjoyed the introduction for Fireside Theater, hosted by Jane Wyman. I'm going to talk a little bit about her, like I did before. She was a wonderful actress. She was starring in a lot of movies at Warner Brothers, like, for example, Public Wedding, Brother Rat, with with Eddie Albert. I remember that. And also Ronald Reagan, which she starred with in that movie. And let's see, Magnificent Obsession with Rock Hudson. Also, Stage Fright, that Alfred Hitchcock movie. That's a good movie. I like that. And All That Heaven Allows from 1955. You know, she was nominated for Academy Award for Best Actress 4 times, and she won the Academy Award for Johnny Belinda. And I've seen the movie once; it was pretty good. You know, very good indeed. Of course, she married Ronald Reagan. He was an actor, and we know what happened to him. Became the president of the United States. So, and she also appeared in The Lost Weekend. Oh, it's a good movie with Ray Milland. Oh, he played a drunk. Then she went into television, and she appeared on General Electric Theater, the show hosted by her ex-husband, Ronald Reagan. And then in the 60s, she didn't do much. Maybe Pollyanna, Bon Voyage. I remember a movie she was in with Bob Hope. And let's see. Then all of a sudden, she appeared on television, on TV series. I remember one from The Sixth Sense that starred Gary Collins. That was scary. That was funny. It's not funny. It's a serious. It's about ESP. And then she got the role of Angela Channing on Falcon Crest, and I didn't watch the show in the beginning. I don't know, there was something about it, but then I was watching Dallas at the time, and then that got popular, and then Falcon Crest was right after it, and then I started watching it, and I loved it. I love it. It's one of my favorite soaps. Second is Dynasty. So the order was Dynasty, Falcon Crest, Dallas, and Knots Landing. But those were the 4 primetime soaps in the 80s. There were classics like that, and she was great in that. And she was, not a nice lady, and very demanding, and sneaky. And that she was on the shows from the beginning to end. The last season she didn't appear much because she was sick, and she appeared, I think, the last 2 episodes, I think, and then that's the end. And it ended in 1990, and then she didn't do much after that. She didn't appear much. I guess she retired, and then she passed away on September 10th, 2007. Wonderful actress, wonderful lady. I've watched the reruns of Falcon Crest. I have a few seasons on DVD. Now it's on, what's that called? It used to be called IMDb. It's on streaming. Now you can go on Freevee channel, and they have all the seasons. So I'm going to start watching them again. That'd be kind of cool. Okay. Next up, it's the television series Biff Baker. Okay, and this was an interesting show. Let's see. I gotta find it. I should have had it ready by now. Here we go. This show was only lasted 1 season. It aired on CBS. Premiered November 13, 1952. Ended March 26, 1953. It was a 30-minute show. It had 26 episodes. 4 were unaired, as usual, like that. And it starred Alan Hale Jr. and Randy Stewart. And let's see. And the sponsor was Lucky Strikes cigarettes. Be happy, be lucky. I love that jingle. And the premise of the show, he was an operator of importing business, and Biff Baker and his wife Louise travel around the world to find merchandise. Oh, interesting. And then they become involved with all kinds of trouble, intrigue, like spying or like that. And they traveled, like I said, around the world. Could be France, Turkey, Vietnam, Pakistan, and sometimes they were spies, and but some sources say they weren't business people. They were really spies, but it hasn't been concluded. And it was an interesting show. I saw one episode on YouTube. I liked it. I really did. This is the first time I've seen Alan Hale Jr. He's best known as Skipper from from Gilligan's Island in a serious role. I mean, I'm sure he did few comedy bits in there, but he was straight lace, straight man. And the show is on. There's a few episodes on DVD, like in the discount bargain bin. You could find it. I think they're public domain, not remastered. If you're an Alan Hale Jr. fan, please do. By the way, his father was Alan Hale Sr. He was a famous actor, a character actor, that is. Okay, and right now I'm going to play the theme song for Biff Baker USA. And when I come back, I'm going to talk about not Alan Hale Jr., I'm going to talk about his wife, Randy Stewart. And she had an interesting career in movies and TV. So sit back and enjoy the theme song for Biff Baker USA. Thank you, everyone. Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the introduction of Biff Baker USA, the syndicated series that starred Alan Hale Jr. and Randy Stewart. I'm going to talk a little bit about her and her biography. She was born Elizabeth Chabelle, that's her real name, and born on October 12, 1924. And she was from Kansas. She was born there, and then she started, and then she started on the radio. She was a regular on the Jack Carson show. Remember actor Jack Carson from Mildred Pierce? That's why he's famous for that. And she started a few movies. She played Peggy in the comedy Sitting Pretty. Do you remember that with Clifton Webb and Mr. Belvedere? I like that movie. That was great. And she was also I Was a Male War Bride. I think that was with Cary Grant. That's a good movie. Also, she was in All About Eve, starring Betty Davis and Baxter. In that. And she's good. And then her famous role was the wife of the Incredible Shrinking Man. I love that. Oh, it's funny with Grant Williams. That was a good movie like that. And then she did some television later in the late 50s and the early 60s. A lot of westerns like that. And also 77 Sunset Strip. She was in the Roaring Twenties, Hawaiian Eye. Also in the Millionaire. She did that. She was also in Bonanza. She did that. And she's also played the wife of Officer Bill Gannon on Dragnet. Harry Morgan's character. She did that. And then she stopped, and then she passed away on July 20th, 1996. So if you're a movie fan or TV fan, if you notice her, it'd be Randy Stewart. You will recognize her. She's one of those faces that you've seen her, but you don't remember her name like that. So I've seen a few things she's done. She's pretty good. She's a good actress. Okay. Next up, we have the television sitcom Fair Exchange. I've never seen this show, but I've heard so much about it, and it has an interesting premise. Okay. So this premiered on September 21st, 1963, ended September 19th, 1963. Did I say it right? Yeah, 62, 63. Yeah. Ran for 2 seasons, 27 episodes. Had an interesting cast. They had Eddie Foy Jr., you remember from the famous Foy family. Also starred Victor Maddern he's an English actor. And those guys played World War II veterans, and they decided to have their teenage daughters live with each other for a year. So it's like exchange students. So the character, Eddie Foy Jr.'s character was Eddie Walker, and Victor Maddern's character was Tommy Finch. Eddie's daughter Patty was played by Lynn Loring. I've seen her in a lot of television shows, and Tommy Finch had a son, Neville, and they had a daughter, Heather, and that was played by Judy Carn from Roland Martin's Laugh-In. And let's see, Eddie also had a son named Tommy, and he's played by Flip Mark. And I think you've seen him in a lot of television shows in the 60s. Let's see that. And so the girls try to adjust to the other families, one in London, one in New York City, and they have a tough time like that. And that's what was interesting about this show. And I've seen one episode. It's pretty good. I liked it. And this replaced the Twilight Zone. It was ending. And then all of a sudden the Twilight Zone returned, but it returned in half-hour format. And this was, I believe, the hour-long version of that. That was kind of weird. Ratings were pretty good, but CBS canceled it. And then, but they got a lot of mail from fans. They said, "No, bring it back. Okay. When they revived it, they brought it back not in an hour-long form, not an hour-long show, but then a half-hour format. And that was the first hour-long sitcom since the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, starring Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. Then they brought it back for half an hour, but it didn't work. The ratings sank, and it was canceled, and that was it. And so we had other people in the cast. Was Audrey Christie. She played Eddie Walker's wife. Also, Diana Chesney. She played Tommy Finch's daughter. And so let's see. The first season ran for about 15 episodes, and the second season ran about, about 13. Yeah, about 13. Like that. And that should be on DVD. I would buy it in a second because I like Judy Carn. I always have. She's so cute, and she's a talented comedian. You've seen it from Roland Martin's Laugh-In. And she starred the other series, Love on the Rooftop. I will talk about that show at a later date, with Peter Duell, like that. So right now, I'm going to play the theme song for Fair Exchange. When I come back, I'm going to talk about a little more about Judy Carn, about her interesting career. Okay, so sit back and enjoy, everyone. Thank you.
Brought to you by...
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you like the introduction for Fair Exchange, the TV sitcom. It's our Judy Carn and Eddie Foy Jr. Let me talk a little bit about her. I've always watched her since I was a kid, and I don't know, of all the people from Roland Martin's Laugh-In, she stood out the most as one of my favorites. My favorite was Joanne Worley. She's hilarious. But Judy Carn was not. Goldie Hawn, not Ruth Buzzy or the others, like Lily Tomlin, that replaced Judy. I have a Facebook group on Facebook called, it's the official group for When Martin's Laughing. You can check it out. If you're on Facebook, you can join. It's very popular. I've had Ruth Buzzy is aware of it, so is Goldie Hawn. I think she is. I don't know about Lily Tomlin, maybe. Joanne Worley's not on Facebook. I don't think so. Maybe someone's told her. They're all still alive. So Judy Carn was born on Northampton, England. Her real name is Joyce Audrey Butterill. And they were her parents were greengrocers, and she learned acting. She attended school, and then she did some TV acting in England. And one of her first roles was on Danger Man with Patrick McGowan, Secret Agent Man. She was on that, and then she moved to the United States and started Fair Exchange, and then she became well known. And then she followed by another sitcom called The Bailies of Balboa. We'll talk about that someday. Then she appeared on Love on the Rooftop, co-starred with Peter Duell. And then she appeared on a lot of TV shows: Gidget, Man from U.N.C.L.E., I Dream of Jeannie, Gunsmoke, Bonanza, The Big Valley. Oh, lots of them. She appeared in a movie, The Americanization of Emily, that starred James Garner and Julie Andrews. I remember watching that movie. She was pretty good. And then she got cast on Rowan Martin's Laughing, and that was one of the most innovative shows of all time. It's still talked about today, and I love the show. That is my second favorite show. First one is I Love Lucy. And when I was little, I used to watch it. It was so colorful, so fast. I didn't understand it, but I loved it. I got hooked on it. And I was hoping for reruns to come all these years, but it didn't come until like the early 80s, but it was syndicated. And finally, the show's on DVD. So if you want to buy it, go ahead. I won a contest from, I think, Time Life, I think, and I won. And I told them I'm the admin of the group, and they said, yeah, you got a free set. That's very nice of them. And she was there for 2 years. Her most famous trademark was, her catchphrase, Sakatumi. I love Sakatumi. That was funny. She would get assaulted by water. One time a board. She fell in the trap door. She, all kinds of things. And she enjoyed it. And that made her very popular. And then she got a little tired of it, and then she left. She thought she would be famous for that, but that's not so. No, And then she started a few musicals, and then her career took a nosedive, and she was only famous for her arrest on drug charges. That's a shame, but I heard she got over it. And then did a few acting roles. Her last acting role was probably a documentary or like a movie from the early 90s. I saw it on YouTube or Vimeo. She sounded the same and she looked the same. She looked absolutely wonderful. I wish she did more. I wish she'd be famous for that. But also she was married to Burt Reynolds. That marriage was doomed from the start. So, and that's a shame. And then she wrote a book about laughing on the outside, crying on the inside. So, and I remember seeing the book down Croc and Bertano's, the bookstore in Chicago. And I should have bought it, but I think I'm going to buy it. If I find it, I want to read it. But, it's kind of dated, but it's from the 80s. So I heard it's very good. And she was very blunt and very honest about what's going on. But, and then she retired back to England, and then she passed away in September 2015, which is a shame. So, very talented lady. And she sang, she also sang. She sang beautifully. She could have been embarked on a famous career. But I guess bad decisions and drugs did that. So that's a shame. Okay. Next up, here's something interesting. The ABC Saturday Superstar movie. I remember this very well when I was a kid. Oh, it was wonderful. I look forward to watching this every Saturday. And this was the animated version of the ABC movie of the week. Remember that when they showed TV movies? They don't do TV movies anymore, not really, unless you count Hallmark Christmas movies. But they had great movies then, and now somebody decided to do one for kids and on Saturday mornings, and that's awesome. So here's a little history of that. It premiered September 9th, 1972, ended November 17th, 1973. It ran about an hour. It was an hour-long format. Ran for 2 seasons, 20 episodes, and they had most of the production companies was from Filmation, Hanna-Barbera, and Rankin Bass, and they showcased a lot of famous shows, TV shows and cartoon series. And let's see, I'm going to read the episodes. There are 20 of them, but I won't go into detail of each one, not much. So I'll read half of them, and then I will play the theme song, and then when I come back, I'll read the rest. Okay, so here's season 1. It was called, the first movie was The Brady Kids on Mysterious Island, and that's based on the Brady Bunch TV series, and also the pilot film for The Brady Kids. I talked about it on a previous episode, the anime series. And they met the minor bird Marlin, and then the twin giant pandas. I did that. So I don't know if that's on DVD. I don't remember. I haven't watched it in a while. So all the kids voiced the actors. The adults were not in it. Mike Brady, Carol Brady, Alice, the housekeeper. No, they were not in the movie at all. It's just the kids. Okay. Second episode was Yogi's Ark Lark. That is based on the Yogi Bear. Hey, it's Yogi Bear. And they featured most of the Hanna-Barbera characters, and they were in a Noah's Ark, and its flying version. That's a pilot film too, and they went into Yogi's gang, and I remember that show very well. Okay, and also the third episode was Mad Monsters, based on the 1967 theatrical film Mad Monster Party from Rankin Bass. Yeah, I don't remember this one. I have Mad Monster Party. I like that. Also, Nanny and the Professor, based on the TV series of the same name that starred Juliet Mills, and Richard Long and the kids. They all voiced there. This is the first first movie. They had a second one in the second season. And number 5 was Popeye Meets the Man Who Hated Laughter. And they had a wide range of comic strip characters. It included Popeye, Blondie, Hi, I'm Lois, Snuffy Smith, Beetle Bailey, Jiggs and Maggie, Steve Cannon, the Phantom, Flash Gordon, Mandrake the Magician, the Little King, and the Katzenjammer Kids. Oh, that was, I guess, a common name. Those cartoon comic strip characters appeared. They were against a common enemy. Now that would be interesting. I never seen this, and I always want to see that because that's interesting. I don't know if some of them are on YouTube. Maybe. I know one with the banana splits is, and I watched it. That was pretty good. That was one of my favorites. Number 6 was Willie Mays and the Say Hey Kid. I remember this one, voiced by Willie Mays. He's still with us. Thank goodness. Next one, 7 and 8, is a 2-part movie. It was called The Oliver and the Artful Dodger, based on the 1838 novel by Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist. And they did that. Also, number 9 was The Adventures of Robert Hoodnick, based on Robin Hood. With it was animated with animal characters, and then 1 year before they released the Disney version of Robin Hood, which I liked very much. Okay. Number 10 is Lassie and the Spirit of the Thunder Mountain, based on the Lassie character, and this was the pilot film for the 1973 anime series Lassie's Rescue Rangers. I remember that. I love the theme song. I like that. Okay. Before I resume the rest of them, I'm going to play the theme song of the ABC's Saturday Superstar movie. So sit back and enjoy, everyone. Thank you.
The Saturday Superstar movie.
Hey, it's Yogi Bear.
If I only had me spinach.
The Saturday Superstar, Saturday Superstar, Saturday Superstar movie.
Okay, everyone, I'm back. The theme song for ABC Saturday Superstar movie. Oh, I love that theme song. You can't get it out of your head. Okay, so I'll read the rest of the episodes real quickly. Number 11 was Gidget Makes the Wrong Connection, based on the TV character in the movie Gidget. The voice of Gidget was some other actress. It wasn't Sally Field or Sandra Dee. Wasn't her like that. Okay. And next one was the Banana Splits in Hocus Pocus Park. Now, this was one of my favorites. I love this episode. It was animated and live action. First, they were live action. Then they went to Hocus Pocus Park, or they went somewhere, and then they were animated. And the same voices that did Fleagle, Beagle, Drooper, and Snork. I'm going by like the theme song of the Banana Splits. I think they do sing. The plot of the movie was they were chasing a girl, and because a witch was chasing her, and so that was it. And I loved that was a great one. I like that. That was one of my favorites. Number 13 is Tabitha and Adam and the Clown Family. That's based on the TV series Bewitched with Darren and Samantha Stevens' children. And they're depicted as teenagers, and the voices were not from the kids on the TV show. There were others, and let's see. So, but this was confusing because Adam, Samantha, and Darren's son, he sort of developed magical powers, but then on the spin-off series Tabitha, he didn't. He was mortal. I don't think he was a witch or warlock. No. Okay. Number 14 was the Red Baron. The other one, this one was unusual. The next one was Daffy Duck and Porky Pig Meet the Groovy Ghoulies. So you have Warner Brothers characters and Filmation characters. But that was fun. Yeah, that would have been. I haven't seen this. I want to see that. It sounds interesting. Also, Lovecast U.S.A. That's based on the comedy anthology series Love American Style that aired on ABC. One of my favorite shows. I like that. And number 17 was That Girl in Wonderland. I have this on DVD. A friend of mine gave it to me, and it had the original commercials. I loved it. It's the first time I've seen it. And it's voiced by Marla Thomas, Yeah, that's great. And it was wonderful. I like that. It aired 2 years after the show ended. Okay, in season 2, there were only 3 episodes. One was Lost in Space. Didn't show much of the what was I going to say? Much of the characters, but the only characters were there was Craig Robinson, played by Guy Williams on the original series, and Jonathan Harris, Dr. Zachary Smith. He was one of my favorite. Oh, I loved him when he made fun of the robot and called him all kinds of names. That made it entertaining. And most of the cast members didn't come, and the characters weren't in there. That was bizarre. Next was the Mini Munsters. The only one who voiced the Munsters from the TV series was Al Lewis, played Grandpa. The rest, no. Herman was there, Lily was there, Eddie was there, but he had cousins. Marilyn was not there. I don't know why. Spot was there. Good. And the last one was Nanny and the Professor and the Phantom of the Circus. That was the second movie. And the other cast members did voice it. So that's interesting. I wish this show would come on DVD. Nanny and the Professor. I would buy it in a second. I loved it. I used to watch it all the time when I was little. It aired on WGN TV Channel 9 in the early 70s after it went off the air on ABC. I hope so. We'll see. Okay, so that's it for the ABC Saturday Superstar movie. I'm tongue tied with this. It's one of the most memorable shows in the 70s and largely forgotten. Okay. Next up, we have the TV sitcom Baker's Dozen. Now, nobody remembers this show except me, I think. And this only ran 6 episodes. And it first aired March 17, 1982, ended June 30th, 1982. Ran for 6 episodes and starred Ron Silver. You remember him from Gary Levy from Rhoda. And others in the cast was Cindy Weintraub, Alan Weeks, Sam McMurray. I remember him. He was his famous role as he was the dentist in Freaks and Geeks, and also Supervisor Patrick O'Boyle in the sitcom King of Queens that starred Kevin James. He was in there. Also, Tom Quinn was in the cast. Also, Doris Bellick. I remember her. I remember from Tootsie. She played the producer of the show. When Dustin Hoffman dressed up as Dorothy Michaels. I love that movie. It's hilarious. And I sort of remember this show. I saw it once and it was gone. Went into TV oblivion. I found the theme song. And it is on YouTube if you want to check it out. So here's the theme song for Baker's Dozen. When I come back, I will talk a little bit about Ron Silver. Okay? So sit back and enjoy, everybody. Thank you. Okay, everyone, I'm back. I'm glad you. I hope you liked the theme song for Baker's Dozen. I'll talk a little bit about Ron Silver. What I remember him from is Gary Levy from Rhoda. He was a very popular character. At first, he was a jerk. He was like a swinging single guy that lived in Rhoda's apartment building. I remember that. But then he became their friend to Rhoda Morgenstern and Brenda, her sister. And he didn't stay the entire run. He came in the middle of the show after, Rhoda and her husband divorced or separated. And then he stayed there. Not until the end. So that's what I remember him from. And he starred in a lot of movies. He made his debut in the film Tunnel Vision. He was also in Semi-Tough. Remember that? With Burt Reynolds and Chris Christopherson. He was in that movie. He was in a horror movie called The Entity. Oh, that's scary. That's scary. Also, Garble Talks with Anne Bancroft. I've seen clips of the show of the movie. It's hilarious. I like that. And he was also in Blue Steel with Jamie Lee Curtis, and also the lead in Enemies: A Love Story, directed by Paul Mazursky. I saw parts of that movie. It's pretty good. He was excellent in that movie. And then he played more television. He was also in Reversal of Fortune in 1990, based on Klaus von Bülow. He played that. He played attorney Alan Dershowitz. Did that. And he also produced films. He did that. And also more television. And he worked until he passed away, and he was a very intelligent man. He spoke a lot of he spoke languages: Spanish, Mandarin, Chinese. He was Jewish. I don't know if he learned Hebrew, and then he got involved with politics and all that. But he was everywhere. And unfortunately, he passed away March 15th, 2009. He was 62 years old. Not so young like that. And I liked him a lot. He was a good actor. He really was. Okay. Next up, we have the TV crime drama Angel Street. I remembered this show, and I watched it. I watched about a couple episodes. And this premiered on CBS September 15, 1992. Only aired about a month. October 3rd, 1992. Had 8 episodes. Only 4 aired. It had a good cast. The premise was 2 female detectives. One was a veteran, one was a rookie, and it was located in Chicago. They filmed it. I know they did in Chicago. It starred Robin Givens. You remember her from Head of the Class, and Pamela Gidley. So Robin Givens' character was Detective Anita King, and Pamela Gidley was Detective Dorothy Peresky. Others in the cast was Ron Dean, played Detective Brannigan, and he was in a lot of movies, a lot of TV. Joe Guzaldo, Rick Snyder, Lorraine Cooper, and Danny Goldring. He was in there too. And so it didn't do very well in the ratings. So, and like I said before, I remember this show very well, and I saw the introduction on YouTube, and they filmed. I recognized locations in Chicago. I remember the L. I recognized the L, all the streets, and all that. That was kind of cool to see in the early '90s in Chicago. Okay, and that was created by John Wells. He's a famous television writer, director, producer, and like I said, the ratings didn't do well on the show. Okay, I'm going to play the theme song for Angel Street. When I come back, I'm going to talk about Pamela Gidley. She had an interesting career. Okay, so sit back and enjoy Angel Street. Thank you, everyone.
Angling, untangling the rhyme, and you'll find at an angle the Angel Street song. Right before your life pass through the next stage, and I'll flex again if I have to. Keep the rhyme, keep the line. Angel Street! Angel Street! Angel Street.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the theme song for Angel Street. I'm going to talk a little bit about Pamela Gidley. She appeared in a lot of films and television. Her name was Pamela Catherine Gidley. She was born in Methuen, Massachusetts, and let's see, she appeared in the movies Dudes, Cherry 2000. Remember that? That was with it's a weird movie like that. That was with Melanie Griffith. I remember that movie. The Blue Iguana, Permanent Record, Highway to Hell, and also she was in the movie Twin Peaks, Fire, Walk With Me, based on the TV show Twin Peaks. She was Teresa Banks. In the TV show, she is mentioned. She was mentioned in the TV show, but she was not shown. So this is the prequel of Laura Palmer's death in Twin Peaks. So they got that. So I'm glad they did that. And she's best known her roles as Strange Luck. That was a sitcom that starred D.B. Sweeney. It aired on Fox and aired from 1995 to 96. Also, she had a recurring role in The Pretender. That's a good show. I like that. And then she, unfortunately, she passed away. You know, and which is a shame. She was only about 52 years old, and she died on April 16th, 2018. And we don't know what happened. You know, she died very unexpectedly. So I hope I don't know if she was sick or I have no idea. But she did appeared in a lot of shows, and starting from the 80s. So you would see her face, and you would recognize her, but you wouldn't know who it was. When she was in Twin Peaks, the prequel, I saw that movie maybe a couple times. It's bizarre. If you're a Twin Peaks fan, you love it. Now, I wish she was alive because, when they made the second series, that would have been interesting, but she wasn't in it. So that's a shame. Okay. Last show I'm going to talk about is Battery Park, and this is a sitcom. Only aired 7 episodes, 3 unaired. You know how that is. Executive producer was Gary David Goldberg, famous for Family Ties. This premiered on March 23rd, 2000, ended April 3rd, 2000. It aired on ABC it was a half-hour sitcom. It was just canceled after 4 episodes, and it was about the police department in Battery Park in Manhattan, in New York, that neighborhood there. The cast consists of Elizabeth Perkins. She was Captain Madeline Dunleavy, also Justin Lewis. You might remember he goes by another name. His name is Louis Ferreira, or something like that. I can't pronounce his name. He's a Canadian actor. He starred in a lot of shows. Yeah, a lot of movies. Also, Jacqueline Danielle Obradors, she was in there. Also, Frank Grillo, Bokeem Woodbine. We remember him from Jason's Lyric in that movie. Robert Mailhouse. And he used a drummer for the rock, the alternative rock band Dogstar. I remember that. Also, Jay Paulson was in the cast. Also, Wendy Monitz. She did a lot of TV. Also, Sam Lloyd. And he was famous in the comedy series Scrubs and sitcom Cougar Town. Remember that? So that didn't do well in the ratings, and luckily I found the theme song of Battery Park. I will play that right now, and when I come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about Elizabeth Perkins. She has an interesting career. She's still acting. Thank goodness for that. So here is the theme song for Battery Park. Okay, everyone, I'm back. I played the theme song for the sitcom Battery Park. Right now, I'm going to talk about Elizabeth Perkins, wonderful actress, and she played in a lot of famous movies like that. And let's see. So she was born in New York, and then I think she moved to Chicago like that because after her parents divorced. Her paternal grandparents were Greek, and they were from Thessaloniki, Salonika. That's how you say it. That's the second largest city in Greece, and so their names wasn't Perkins; it was Bisperikos. I say it well like that. And she started acting. She did stage work and all that, and she made her film debut in About Last Night. I watched this movie when did I watch it in the theater? No, not in the theater. I watched it on television, and it was during the yuppie era in the late 80s. It was from Chicago. This is based on a play written by David Mamet, and that starred Demi Moore, Rob Lowe, and James Belushi. Oh my God. Oh, that's bad. Also, her other famous movies was in Big with Tom Hanks, Avalon. She was in that movie. I heard it was very good. It's directed by Barry Levinson. Yeah. Also, he said, she said. She starred opposite Kevin Bacon. I like that movie. Also, she's famous for playing Wilma Flintstone in the 1994 movie The Flintstones, opposite John Goodman. I like the movie. It was okay. My favorite one is Elizabeth Taylor playing her mother. That was great. I like that one. Also, she was on Miracle on 34th Street, the remake of the famous classic movie. Also, Finding Nemo. She was in that. Also, she's famous for her role in Weeds on Showtime. She played Celia Hodes, and I never seen the show. I heard it was very good. Very good indeed. And then let's see. So she's still acting to this day, and she's very pretty. I like her a lot. Okay, that's it for the show for today. Ooh, I covered a lot of ground. So I'll do a quick recap of what I discussed on TV Oblivion. Here we go. From the 1940s, I talked about the anthology drama series, Fireside Theater. From the 1950s, the syndicated drama series, Biff, Baker, U.S.A. From the 1960s, the TV sitcom, Fair Exchange. From the 1970s, the animated TV movie series, the ABC Saturday Superstar Movie. From 1980s, the television sitcom Baker's Dozen. From the 1990s, the TV crime drama, Angel Street. And in the 2000s, the sitcom Battery Park. So these were shows that were aired and never heard from again. They went into TV oblivion. Good thing I have a memory of that, of those. But thank you for joining me on this episode. I had a good time discussing this with you. I will have another episode on probably next weekend. It'll be episode 25. It'll be the last show of the season, of season 1. Don't worry, I'll continue doing this. And this show will be available soon. Once it's published, it'll be available on wherever podcasts are available. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. Also, it'll be on my YouTube channel, Van Chicago. No, not Van Chicago. That's my other podcast, TV Oblivion, the podcast. You can subscribe wherever the podcasts are available, and you will get notified for new episodes. So it'll be a while when I post this. And this is Pete Casanes, your host for TV Oblivion, the podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and everyone have a great Thanksgiving weekend. My Thanksgiving was wonderful. And so sit back and enjoy, and this is the ending theme song, the Pick and Pluck song. Take care, everyone. So long.